I don't feel like we've been slowed down at all. I do think that there are efforts to slow down this train, but the train is coming.
You're goddamn right.
Is that the ice cream truck?
Oh shoot, I forgot to play the song.
Philip, how are you? Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Always happy to be here. Thanks for having me so much. You know, those comments that I just saw to CNN over the weekend, you know, I saw that and I immediately had to take to Twitter because I was just flabbergasted, you know, for her to say, Benny, that she was not embarrassed by the spectacle that we saw. I mean, when she took the stand, she was hot to trot. She was obviously watching the proceedings and all of the things that came out about her affair. It just got her so livid that she just took the stand like a wildcat. And that's not the time for you to go under oath, right? You need to be calm and collected and think about what you're going to say, because, you know, you're talking about being an embarrassment for her. She's an embarrassment to the voters and the citizens of Fulton County who care about their cars being broken in, their homes being invaded. They care about being shot at every gas station on every corner, it seems like, in Atlanta. That's just a two-way shooting gallery. That's the real crime in Fulton County, Benny, that she is ignoring so that she can basically promote her political star and fleece the taxpayers of Fulton County to pay media monitoring companies to monitor that star as it rises. I tell you, this is just too much.
I just don't know. I mean, I guess. Is it a rising? I mean, you know, Diddy is a star, but not really the star that you kind of want. He has a lot of attention, but not the attention you want. Right. I'm not sure that you want the attention of wearing your dress backwards, having an upside down American flag pin, getting chastised by the judge. The judge had to put her in timeout during all this. We couldn't believe it when we watched a clip like this. And then the judge said that he's going to strike her testimony after this. Like, that's never a great sign. And also, as you just noted, we've been to Fulton County multiple times for multiple projects. Fulton County is in shambles, sir. Like that place has horrible crime, has filthy streets. I'm not trying to be mean, but it's just it's evident, self-evident when you walk around. Fulton County is in deep decay and needs somebody, probably a prosecutor, who's like a serious person. When you're wearing a dress backwards and like having a meltdown with an upside down American flag pin on your dress, that you don't just come off as a serious person.
Yeah. And, you know, the judge kind of, even though the judge did not rule the way that I thought he should have ruled, I thought he should have disqualified her. And hopefully the Court of Appeals is going to take care of that. We should know soon enough. But the judge, if you read his order, it was scathing. It did not find a whole lot of positive things to say about her. In fact, it went so far, Benny, as to point out that her conduct in going down and speaking to this church full of the voters, the jury pool from Fulton County, and calling Ashley Merchant and calling the defendants in the case, calling them racist, you know, that's wrong. The judge noted it was wrong. It's unethical, but he did not do anything about it. He exacted no penalty from her. He said that was that maybe he's going to have to consider a gag order. Now, I don't want to see Fani Willis in a gag any more than anybody else does, but if he's going to point out that her conduct was unlawful, then he should do something about it. That's called forensic misconduct. It's just as bad, if not worse, than the conflict of interest allegations, in my opinion. But there's also another elephant in the room. It's when you lie on the stand in an effort to salvage your case as the district attorney. That should be an automatic grounds for recusal right on the spot. And if I were the judge in this courtroom, I would have paid a lot more attention to what I believe to be a fraud that was perpetrated on his court, not just by Willis, but by other lawyers involved in the case who put her up as who promoted her testimony, promoted her, what I think is lies about when the affair started. We had a witness come forward. And she said, I saw them hugging and kissing all over each other in 2019 before she even took office. That enough? Is that right there should be enough to disqualify her, but also to potentially prosecute, if not disbar her.
So we've, you're obviously a licensed attorney in the state of Georgia. We don't claim obviously to be legal experts at all. That's why we book intelligent people like yourselves. But even we can see the Secret Service records that are publicly available, see that Fani Willis went to the White House and Nathan Wade went to the White House on multiple occasions. And then she got up on the stand and she just said, I've never been to the White House. So on its like most basic, like super low operational IQ level, that's a lie. So what I'm asking for you, sir, is, are you like is your system fraudulent? Like, are you able to just go lie with impunity, do anything you want all the time, just lie with impunity in the state of Georgia to a judge?
Yeah, I mean, you're not supposed to. No, I mean, it's one of the foundational canons of our ethics is that a lawyer has an obligation of candor to the court at all times, whether you're under oath or not. You've got to always tell the truth. In this case, we have documented examples of things that I believe, in my opinion, she said that were untrue. And that the penalty for that as a lawyer ethically is disbarment. But on top of that, it's a crime. And if you're the elected DA who's committing that crime, you're violating your oath of office, which is a separate crime in the state of Georgia. It's a felony that carries up to 5 years. If you factor in the proffered, that means the testimony that was offered to the court by a lady named Cindy Yeager, who is the chief assistant district attorney in next door Cobb County. She would have come to court, we are told, according to court filings, and she said, and I'm paraphrasing, Fani Willis called Nathan Wade on the phone while he was in my office, in the DA's office in Cobb County in September 2023. I heard her on the phone. I have personal knowledge that she told Terrence to basically keep his mouth shut. That would be called influencing a witness. And if it's done corruptly, then it's also a felony. So if anybody were to really want to sort of make out a case and prosecute her, I think it's there. I think there's at least enough evidence to launch a criminal investigation, if not an indictment. But I honestly, whether or not we're going to get there is anybody's guess. But because she is the gatekeeper to the grand jury, maybe the feds would do it. But I mean, do you think that the Biden Justice Department is going to be prosecuting Fani Willis? I think not. But in any event, I do know that the lawyers on the case, they're not giving up on this. They're still digging through the evidence that we know about, and they're digging through things that we may not know about. And my sense is we have not heard the last of all of this, these allegations regarding Fani Willis and her behavior.
Yes, the way that these kind of systems work, and the system that you operate in and you're a professional in, is that there needs to be a code of conduct that people all understand. There's a list of rules, and you break those rules no matter who you are, and you're going to be prosecuted. And so while we're going to wait for this appeal, we all know the appeal is going forward, so we're going to wait for that to happen. Can you game theory, and I'd like to dive into what you just said there, which is what should actually be happening in a just system to Fani Willis, and how would that go about? Now, you're right, Joe Biden's Department of Justice probably not going to go after Fani Willis, but that's not the end. That's not the end all be all here, right? Like, there are other organizations and structures in the state of Georgia that could say this is incorrect behavior. Am I wrong? Yeah,
no, you're right. And I did something on this on my own YouTube channel the other day about a bar complaint filed by a guy named Stephen Kramer, no relation to Courtney Kramer, who's running as a Republican against Willis. Mr. Kramer he's not a lawyer, but he sent me and he allowed me to publicize it, a very detailed 20 some odd page bar complaint with the State Bar of Georgia, where he went through that code of conduct and he cited the examples of where he felt, based on what he saw and what was publicly available, where he thought she had violated various rules of professional conduct. And so we know that the bar is obligated to investigate bar complaints like that. And so what happens though, and when it would happen is anybody's guess. It could be a while, it could be 6 months, a year, 2 years, and we won't know the results unless or until there's any public discipline. A lawyer discipline can be private, but if it's public and if they find it to be with merit, so to speak, then the penalty for the things that he has alleged would be disbarment. So how that plays out is anybody's guess, but we'll have to watch and see.
So do you believe that there's any type of responsibility that lies upon the attorney general in the state of Georgia? Georgia has a supermajority of Republicans in the House and the Senate, and the executive is a Republican. So
the role of the governor is, well, the governor has no role. He can't do anything about a pending prosecution. He can't pardon anybody. That's all left to the State Board of Pardons and Paroles. It's an old, during Reconstruction, they took a lot of power away from Southern governors because they didn't want them pardoning members of the Klan, for example. So to this day, we have the Board of Pardons and Paroles, and the governor's role is very limited. Unless Fani gets indicted, he could suspend her. But otherwise, he has not much role. The attorney general, theoretically, if there were a referral that were made to the attorney general theoretically has the ability to use the Georgia Bureau of Investigation to investigate crimes by DAs or sheriffs or any other elected official. He also has the authority to convene grand juries, but there's got to be a proper referral made. And whether and when or if that is made is anybody's guess at this point. I do know the judge has the ability to make that referral. And to be honest, if I were the judge, and I've said this before, I would move mountains to find out if somebody, whether it's the DA or anybody else, has perpetrated a fraud on my court. And if that means I've got to bring in or ask the attorney general to do it, that's what I would do. But nobody elected me as judge in the Superior Court of Fulton County, so it's not my call to make, but that's how I would do it.
Can you game theory this for us as an expert, obviously, in this field? Can you game theory what's going to happen next? Will Trump go to trial before the election here?
No. There's no way on God's green earth that's going to happen. We've got another case involving Rico and Fani Willis right now where she's prosecuting rapper Young Thug. It took him over a year because that was another Fani Willis giant Rico that she's trying to shove down the throats of the court. It's just not digestible. It took them over a year just to pick a jury. So if we started picking a jury today in the Trump Rico case, with all the defendants that are remaining, there's no way it's going to, the trial would start for probably 2 years. But now we've got this issue that's up on appeal. Probably, I think the Court of Appeals is going to take the disqualification issue. I think the Court of Appeals is going to perhaps take other issues. Tomorrow, we're going to hear Steve Sadow, who represents former President Trump, and some other lawyers litigate a motion to dismiss on First Amendment grounds, which is very interesting there because in my opinion, he's right. I think they're trying to criminalize protected First Amendment free political speech. David Schaefer, the former chairman of the Republican Party in Georgia, also has some motions to dismiss because of the language that she used in this indictment. She took a lot of liberties with it, right? She's saying things in that indictment like she's calling the electors, fraudulent and fake, and basically that's putting the cart before the horse because these are conclusory statements that really should be left for a judge or a jury to decide. But the DA is just skipping over that step and is making the allegation directly in the verbiage of the indictment. So I think we got some interesting motions. Those are all very important issues. The constitutional issues particularly should be appealed. If the defense loses, those should be appealed also pre-trial. And I think, and I might be wrong, but I believe that those are directly appealable. Like you don't need permission from the judge, like with this last disqualification issue. So I think those can go straight to the Court of Appeals if the defense loses.
So it's very interesting that you brought up the language being used because Fani Willis, when she bum rushed the stand, anger is a cougar, as you put it. She said, I'm not on trial. They're on trial for stealing an election, which really rung in my ears, right? Because I've sat through a lot of these nomination processes in the Senate and a lot of these ponderous judges, and let's let the evidence bring us to where we need to be. We know a lot of prosecutors. We bring them on the show. That seems like such an affront to prosecution, right? To scream someone's crime as though you've already found them guilty. Yeah. Again, sir, it just seems like an insult to the Georgia legal system.
Well, and here's the problem. So when the Georgia has a law on the books, as does every other state, where you are legally allowed. There's a process for challenging elections, but the presidential election is very difficult because it doesn't work within the traditional time frame for civil litigation. Because first off, when you don't know the winner for 2 or 3 or 4 weeks because the states are changing the the procedures in the middle of the counting, so to speak, when the results are delayed and you've got a hard deadline for mid-December for electors to be sent, at least the names to be sent to Washington, D.C., and the elections in early November, with the results delayed a couple of weeks, you don't have time to file a lawsuit, go through discovery, conduct hearings, and get to a result in time to get everything sent to Washington. So lawyers have to think outside the box. They have to think about perhaps do we preserve our clients' rights here by coming up with some alternative electors just in case things change and we get a different count or something? If you're not prepared, then you're basically left with nothing. And so these lawyers were working fast and furious to try to think outside the box because they knew that traditional litigation challenging elections just doesn't work, particularly in the environment that we have now where results are delayed. So when David Schaefer, the defendant David Schaefer, says that he's relying on the advice of his lawyers, what this means is that she's now criminalizing the practice of law, because what lawyers do when there's no clear answer, we share ideas with each other. We figure out, okay, we think outside the box. What can we do to be an effective advocate for our client when the mechanisms that exist in the law, such as a lawsuit, when those don't work, what can we do? And so they were thinking outside the box. And so what Willis has done is she's criminalized that. She's criminalized free speech, and she's criminalized, I think, creative practicing of law. And that's what these motions that we're having hearings about tomorrow is going to cover. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, we found Mr. Holloway here because of his incredible account on X, and because he preaches and spits pure fire and truth, just like he's done on this show right now. Please, we encourage you to follow Philip Holloway on his X account. Let's go ahead over to the profile, please. And make sure this man, 50,000 people, can't be wrong. I mean, come on. But we're going to let's get those numbers up to 100K. Let's go. Let's make sure that we have good lawyers with great audiences that are actually speaking truth. We need far more of that in our country. Also a way to be rid of Fani Willis without disqualification is to actually beat Fani Willis, because she is an elected position. Right now, we are honored to have Fani Willis's opponent, Courtney Kramer, joining the program. Welcome, Courtney.
Hey, Benny, how are you?
Thank you so much, Phil. I know that you've got to go, but you did name drop Courtney Kramer a second ago.
Courtney's my friend, and I support her, and I'm honored to be on with her, of course, with you. So yeah, this is great. I want to hear what she's got to say, because I know that she's the right candidate, honestly, for the citizens of Fulton County, because they need to be represented by a district attorney who's going to take care of the crime that matters most to those to the citizens and the voters and the residents of Fulton County.
Yeah, I guess and again, Philip, I know you've got to go and you've got to hard out, but I did want to, since you name dropped Courtney, and since we're very excited to have you both on the program, I did want to sort of throw out there, we keep playing these videos, this video of Fulton County cheering for Trump right after his mugshot. Like, we keep playing this video of like the people of Fulton County demanding that the crime go down, that like the murderers get solved, that the horrible living conditions, the theft, the crime, that all of that go away, and all they're getting are these fake prosecutions of President Trump. And it does seem like a wonderful opportunity for somebody who cares about law and order to run for office.
Yeah, Courtney should be. Courtney, answer that, because you're the right person for that one.
Yeah, a lot of people did not think that I was going to get in the race, or that any Republican was going to get in this race. I think it's been a little over 2 decades since we've had a Republican qualify to run for DA in Fulton County. And I think it's been even longer than that since there has been a Republican DA. And Phil, correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, we're talking decades, pretty much the entire time I've been alive. We haven't had a Republican challenge anyone in this seat. And being born and raised in Fulton County and seeing the downhill spiral of what that office is becoming after Paul Howard and now Fani Willis, I was not going to sit back and let the voters in Fulton County, the citizens here, be told who their next DA was going to be. That's not fair. That's not how elections should work at all. There's a reason why we have primaries. There's a reason why we have general elections, and I think that just having a Democrat on that ballot is not fair. It's not just, especially after what we've seen over the last couple of years, and her pretty much making a mockery of the legal profession, using her job as a political stage to further her own personal agenda and political agenda. That's not what we need in Fulton County. That's not what any DA's office needs. And I think that people don't understand that this race is not just about Fulton County. The DA in Fulton County, just like the DA in any of these other big counties, New York, some in Florida, when you let criminals go out of your county, and they go and they travel across the state and into other states and they commit crimes. We've seen that with Lake and Riley. We've seen that across the board with illegal immigration. These DAs in certain cities let these defendants go, or just let defendants rot who might be innocent. And we can't have that anymore. And we also deserve a DA who's honest and transparent with her voters and constituents. What she did with Nathan Wade is despicable beyond belief. You heard Ashley Merchant testify about it in the Senate hearings. This has never been done before. Hiring an outside counsel special prosecutor, especially at the rate he was paid, has never happened before. And I think that it's just time that we hold her accountable. And being in elected office is a privilege. And when you abuse a privilege, it is at risk of being taken away. So that's exactly why I decided to put my name in the hat to run for DA against her.
We've been to Fulton County for projects probably a dozen times. And so we feel like we know it a little bit, but we're certainly not from there. And so this clip, I'm so excited to play this clip for you. We'll just play it as a play beside. You can see it, and perhaps you've seen it on social media. It went viral, did 50 million views on our account. It's when Donald Trump got his mugshot from Fani Willis, and then the people went into the streets to cheer for him as he was driving through their neighborhoods. And people were cheering, screaming, "Free Trump." And they were saying, "Fani, you done effed up." Can you tell me what's going on here? Can you explain this to me?
I can't explain it to you because I don't think, one, I will preface that if I were to become a DA in Fulton County, I would recuse myself from this case because I have too much involvement in it personally. So I do want to make that very known. And so I think that as time has gone on, people have realized that her investigation into the special grand jury into Trump was a waste of time, a waste of resources, when you have people in Fulton County getting murdered every day, getting raped every day. And those people are not being held accountable. And the victims are being denied justice. It's justice delayed. It's justice denied. And that's what's happening in Fulton County. I think what you're seeing is a shift from people who are super far left, who didn't like Trump, who are starting to see the political climate change in the country under a Biden administration. And with that comes DAs like Fani Willis under a Biden administration. I think that they are, one, outraged, but in supportive of President Trump. And I think that what's happening here, her indicting him and, 19 other defendants, that helped him. I don't know if she thought that was going to hurt him, but it most certainly did not. I think it's shown, she's kind of shown where her true intentions are in that office. And I think Fulton County, though the demographics are more left-leaning, you are starting to see lawyers come out and speak out about this. You're starting to see people in the legal community, but in politics who are more left-leaning come out and speak out about this. And so I think you're seeing a shift finally in Fulton County. I don't think we're ever going to be super far right, but I think we're definitely coming back towards the middle. And I think that, the DA in Fulton County needs to be more representative of that and not go after, defendants for a political gain. I think it's just, like I said, it's just sick. And I don't really know many other DAs who have a handful of bar complaints against them right now, but I know for a fact that she does. So